more stuff in the post, more stuff in the post. Let's see what we got. More stuff in the post, more stuff in the post. Let's have a look, see. Ooh! Headphone jacks. Very nice indeed. I've been waiting for those actually. And oh, it's a weird one. It's almost like a bag with nothing. Oh, key ring. Slightly less interesting, but the headphone jacks are interesting because they allow me to work further on this project, and this is that Baby Boomer headphone connection project. So that now allows me to sort of wire that into the panel I had in mind. Have a look, see how these go. So wire them up, and simply I need to connect all of the common. So the black wires are going to be common, so I'm going to probably get another one because I don't think these are differential pairs in the old Baby Boomer. So just to show you what that means, you don't get a signal between them. They're actually quite separate. So I'm going to do a naughty and join them up, and I think it's going to be okay. And then that's just going to hook right into there, and yeah, we're going to have some good headphonic action. I think that's the correct term, headphonic action there. So yeah, eBay, I'm going to put the link down below. They are actually quite cheap, literally pennies, so you can get those, pick those up for next to nothing. Not much of a huge video today, I have to admit. Not really much of a huge video because of course I'm not doing the actual fitting part, and the fitting part is something I need to ponder because somebody's already mashed this. But my general kind of idea is likely to be maybe reuse those holes to plug in those headphone jacks, a little bit like you get on an aeroplane if you've ever been on an aeroplane. Of course you have. Then just poke them through for now, and then fit the probably Baby Boomer, maybe just glue it on the back here, and a suitable power supply. I did hope that this thing I smashed up was going to be a suitable power supply, but it's not. It doesn't actually give 5 volts, so maybe I'll have to smash something else up. Maybe this Power Jolt by Griffin will be the answer for me, but I'll work something out. Right, so look out, get your headphone jacks on eBay right now. And yeah, I think they look pretty good. Might just actually, just before we sign off though, let's have a little feely, shall we? Oh, oh yes, listen to that. That's the full Monty, that is. Brilliant, that's gonna do. There you go, little update for you. It was hardly worth watching, wasn't it? Sorry, bye. I felt I couldn't end that video there, it would have been a little bit too short, so what I've done is started to break up my gadgets. So, ooh, this is the Power Jolt by Griffin that we're no longer using in that plug-in configuration. What a rather nice module it is indeed. So this is our device. I'm going to take out the SD card, we don't need that right now. Just going to sort of size it up, have a feel. See if it will go where I want it to go. So I kind of want it to be here, to live there, and I want it to have the headphone sockets there, which is all good, that's fine. And it's got inputs and whatnot on the back, and they're going to have to go through another hole here, nicely out of the way. The only downside is they've got these rather big old clunky connectors, of course, but then it's in a part of a vehicle that you never see. You can't really see that at all. More cables, more connectors, but it is nice to kind of keep them standard, isn't it? Because you've got an option then of doing something in the future. So I'm just going to get myself a tool to drill those out. Unfortunately, I do have such a tool. So I think I'll just start fitting things. Sometimes you can just overthink it, can't you? For me, I'm just going to fit it. And to hell with the consequences. You can always get another panel, right? Maybe. So just going to be a bit ginger in how I drill these out. Okay, I think 3 is probably it. But I'm going to check that now. Oh, ever so just about right, to be honest with you. That was tight. Maybe a half size would have been a bit more suitable, but that's fine. And I hope there's nothing in the vehicle going to obscure these. Full of obstructions. So just turning on our nut thing. Get on there. Bloody cars, eh? Just realised the reason it's not sitting quite right is because it's not clean. The hole is not clean enough, so I'm just going to get it out. Look at that. Filthy. And actually, just realised whoever drilled those holes originally didn't even drill them in the right place, because one is definitely further left than the other. Can't quite get into that one. Going to get in there with my old scalpel. Nice. Okay. I think that's looking a little bit better. Just going to push those through. Hopefully, just thinking, it looks almost like we're not going to get much of a twist on it because it's made to go on a thinner panel. Let's just give it a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's alright though. I think even the most tenacious of children would have to tug wildly on that thing to break it, so I think we're going to be okay. This one a little bit harder to fit, but I don't think we're going to have a massive problem just because it's so near that. Might be a little bit of a problem just pushing the clip on. Let's see. Nah, it's going to be fine. Absolutely fine. So I'm going to need new clips for this panel because again it's been yanked out by some sort of Luddite. He says, using the world's biggest set of pliers. I'm just going to use some archery forceps because this is precision work here, so I'm going to try at least. That's actually twisting the whole thing around now, so there's a bit of torque getting on there. It's going to be a bit tricky. So I'm going to basically mix the left and right in the output, and I'm not sure if that's wise from an audio standpoint, but from a me doing it standpoint, it's simple. It's nice and simple. I'm just going to do it that way. So, and unfortunately I've still got these really clunky panel mount doofers. I might do something about those, although I'll probably just end up leaving them. So I need another black wire. First things first, let's get another black wire. And then I'm just going to wire these up. And I'm going to assume, of course, that that long contact is the common on there, hopefully. And we're going to have a common and a left and a right. Again, not quite sure how we quite handle that. Right, so there we go. Soldering iron ready. I was just sort of staring at this because I kind of want to be I want them to be a split so that you can plug in two sets of headphones, but they should both get stereo. Just tin while I'm at it. I'll just tin this one here. I'm just seeing logically, is there a way that makes sense? Because you want to preserve stereo-ness, yet at the same time make sure you don't have to have too much wiring, so it's going to be a bit tricky. So I can see I can go from one of these headphone sockets and wire that up. And we'll just double the these grounds together. So the question is, do you go, for example, I'm going to trim these down, do you do the split from here and go double up the wires to both sides, or do you go from one to the other? That's the basic question. I think, looking at it, I'm probably going to go to one side and then worry about it later. Let's get that there. We're going to get one here. So that's looking pretty good. Just got one more to do. And just in case you're worried that I'm going to leave it as an exposed electronic board, I'm not really going to do that. I have a rather nice box that's going to live in that I can glue there. So that's effectively one hooked up now, but I need to hook the other. So the simplest way is probably just to bring 3 wires across, and if you're doing this at home, you certainly don't need as heavy a gauge wire as that. That just happened to be the wire I had at hand. I'm just having a look in my box of random bits of wire, and I can give you an example here of something that's maybe a little bit more sensible a gauge. These wires. So these are just pre-finished terminals, and I'm not really using them. I don't have a project that uses those anymore. So I'm just going to solder there on the end, just a touch. Messed that up. Of course, if you're doing this, just mechanically twist all of these wires together before you solder them. I mean, you'll avoid a lot of pain that I'm just doing now, just to sort of kind of rush through it. I don't even know why I'm rushing through it. It's just I'm a very busy guy these days, and I just need to finish projects. Easy to start projects, isn't it? But it's very hard to finish them, I find. There we go. That's it there nicely. And that is, I'm glad the camera zoomed out, because you can't see the quality of this soldering, because it is pretty nasty. I would certainly consider firing myself from this job if I was paying for it. We're going to get... Now, I'm not sure which is the left and which is the right, but I'm not too bothered, because it's always easier just to sort of swap the connectors around on the input. So that side I'm fine with. There we go. But just make sure when you're doing it, you do the same ones on each side. Just going to get in there nicely. And this one's going to go round to this little fella here. Boom. You can tape all those down when you're done. Obviously don't need to leave them flopping around. What colour shall we use for the other side? Green? How about a nice green? Why not? So all the things that have gone into this so far, this project, are quite interesting. There's been the auxiliary voltage regulator that had to be made, and then there's all the routing of the AV equipment, or rerouting away from the originally installed crap. And then there's this making up of this panel. So this is serious pimp my ride type stuff. I just need to fit some you know, flat panel TVs in it. Well, more. When I say flat panel TVs, I mean the ones they use on Pimp My Ride, which is obviously, you know, some sort of huge thing. Right, and then the power, so that's the V in there. I'm gonna use this board, you see, to power this module, but also I'm gonna have to slave some power off here. So at some point we're gonna have to go in and tack onto those two, the appropriate two lines. And I can't remember the polarity, so what I'm just gonna do though, I've got a voltmeter next to me, and a multimeter of course, and we'll just hook this up as if we're going to run it in the car. The same way, exactly the same way. See, the light's gone on. And I'll turn it upside down there just before I do. Stay clipped. It's weird, it's got a lot of LEDs, hasn't it? It's got two LEDs on the front and then an LED on the bottom. So we've got our voltmeter here. I'm just going to try to do this one-handed, which is always a good way of shorting something out. And there's 5 volts, 5.05 volts. So the 5 volts is this terminal here on the right. And what we can do is just hook our baby boomer straight on that. So it's locked in and getting its power. Ugh. He said with the biggest blob of solder known to man. Just going to get the negative now hooked up. You can have a quick look at this circuit. It's quite fine actually. It's good. I like how they've done this sort of weird negative ground shielding thing. Should make it easy for us to solder to, but I think it's a little bit dry on there. I might just add solder to it first. Yeah. Okay. And then we're just going to add some solder right there. Hold it there for a moment. Yeah, I think that's okay. So all we need to do now for this particular module is actually cut off this spring and cut that off. I'm going to put a bit of heat shrink over it so I can plug in on the end, and that's going to be wired into the vehicle wiring. Actually, we could just do that. I'm wondering what was the rating of that board in terms of current. I mean, this gauge wire is probably adequate, but could be a little bit on the thin side. This gauge wire is definitely very much on the thick side, but I have it at hand, so I think we're going to go with something I can get off our old donor power supply. This poor old donor power supply, I mean, it's amazing. Well, I don't know if it's a poor old donor power supply. How many power supplies get to live on? They live in being useful and having utility. So if you've got an old power supply, give it some life, and if you can't give it some life, give it to me, and I will certainly find a use for it. These red wires are so much easier to strip. I don't know if they're slightly thinner gauge. There we go. Or they've just got a softer, crunchier shell. Get that off there. Get that off there. Right. Going to do the old tinning very quickly. Tinning the ends of the wires. Beautiful. 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 Lots of beautiful. All the beautiful. Last bit. And you just want to make sure you don't need any of those springs and other doohickeys on them. In fact, they're both springs. That's a normal coil spring and that's a leaf spring, like you might have in your old car. Get that off there. Ow! Just flick that off camera because I didn't want it to sort of splutter anywhere. And these are going to be a bit more of a challenge because of course they're going to suck all of the heat out of your soldering iron. In fact, it might be just as effective just to snap those off. Yeah, they snap right off. They don't like it up them. Which is a bit weird considering they're a spring material, that you think they would be a lot more difficult to snap. But that's fine. So we're just going to solder our input power, and I'm just checking all of these contacts there are actually all connected, so even if you went a bit crazy and you overdid it with soldering, you're going to be okay on that one, provided of course you're getting the exact model of Griffin or whatever it was charger. Oh, that was hot. So hot it's cool. What was that from though? So hot it's cool. It just that really that's bugging me now. Ah, that was hot. but so hot it's no. I'm not going to do that. Right, bit more, little bit of heat, man. There we go. Nicely done. Look, nicely done. So before we put a bit of heat shrink on that whole thing, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the USB bit in there. I like how this is just really nasty. This is just the total ghetto build, and it just shows you can do it with no skills. And there we go. You see the LED on it go on? Woohoo! We have the power. So that's that fitted. So that's the amp. That's the So there's your headphones. There's your amp. There's your power supply. Next thing now is a bit of heat shrink, and I'm going to look a little bit deeper in my heat shrink box, because that's going to need a significant wadge of heat shrink, and I have a significant heat shrink box. So I've got different types of heat shrink. Some are the normal thin sizes, and then some are like these huge. And I'm hoping it's not that very huge size, because it's hard to come by, and it bloody well is, isn't it? It's almost halfway between stupid huge and not so stupid huge. I might need a combination of both, so let's just see what we've got readily available here in the box. Oh, there seems to be some offcuts here. There's a nice green. Poke that through. See how far it can get that. Not very, unfortunately. Not very. I suppose it's going to be this. I'm not sure if it's going to really shrink down enough, but you can always just, you know, tape the edges or something. You can use insulation tape and just tape the ends. Just check it for length, and if you're going to do it, get it right. So you're going to just cut that right there, straight across like that. Boosh. Job's a good one. And that's about where you want it. And then you're going to need some hot air. A lot of hot air. But I need to turn mine up. Shrink ray. Oh, it looks like it's about right, actually. Okay, good. That's done. I can put my big box of heat shrink away, fortunately, because it's just about right. So just get a bit of insulation tape. Oh, hello, that's a bit hot. Hello indeed. Oh, is that hot? Right. That's good, so we've got that there. And I'm almost regretting not just jamming a bit of insulation tape over that while I was at it. Or rather heat shrink. Although, to be fair, this heat shrink is so humongous. Maybe, just maybe you could do it. But it's probably not good for the old heat sink on that. It's not going to be totally sympathetic with airflow. But let's have a little go, maybe. Get it on there, that's nice. Saves me a project box, doesn't it? Saves me a project box indeed. There. I think that's worth having a go on. That was 100% worth doing. I think that was definitely the right move. Look at that, that actually did tidy that up significantly. So I might just put a bit of the hot snot, as it's famously known, here. And we don't have to worry about that hole there, because really we don't have anything that's going to be needing that or getting in that way. In fact, while we're discussing and deliberating, I'm going to use and heat up my gas hot air hot snot machine. Come on. I think it ran out of gas last time I used this. There we go. While that's heating, somewhere safe on my carpeted floor, I will see how we can fit this module, because this is going to be the... It's kind of got all weird. The paint on this panel has got a bit sticky, a bit like an old Microsoft mouse. Right. And I think I'm going to pop it right there, basically. That's my plan. And to do that, I've got some of this. It's a copy, basically, of the 3M, very tenacious 3M foamy tape. I don't know if you've used this stuff, but it's good. It's real good. And it's the same sort of tape that you'd use to stick a dash cam on, but I'd advise maybe some scissors to cut it with. And if you've got some of these high torque scissors, all the better. I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces of that, and it's weird. It's kind of sticky, kind of isn't it? At first, sometimes it looks like it's just not going to work at all, but then it just seems to work. So if you've got some, bear with it. Yeah, this has gone out, bloody thing. To get the old butane. We'll go through that in a minute. Get that there then. Boom. And I guess it's fortuitous I've run out of butane gas briefly, because it's good to let that sit for a minute. And I'll tell you why. When you put that stuff on, old butane, no good. Where's me other butanes? Nah. Don't know what to do with the old bottles of butane. That I've got a bit of pressure, but not enough. I'll put it in a special place for future experiments. By the way, if you've never done this before, get your butane can, shake it around, hold it upside down, and you'll know when it's full. Does that. Nicely done. In fact, that's on. Now we got some power. So I'll let that heat up. It's good to let this sit for a minute, because the tape actually is a sort of a foam, and it kind of unfoams itself, if that makes any sort of sense. So when you leave it, it kind of firms up and foams up, and then it'll fill in all the little gaps. So it's good we had a few moments to do that, and now we can just take this off. This is what they sometimes stick number plates on cars with, and you're sort of thinking, unbelievable. How can you get a number plate on a car with this? But it does work. You see what I mean? It just doesn't seem like it's sticking, because as I'm pulling the backing paper off, it's coming with me. Perhaps that's maybe a feature of this sort of particularly sort of cheaper Chinese one, that it takes longer to sort of cure. But trust me, if you just get it off, you might need to use a finger, it will do the job. Come on, there we go. Just got to convince it. Rip it off quickly like a band-aid. I think that's the key. And you can see it's rippling because it has that. It is a foamy texture. It's weird. It's like a gel. Ah, look, that's it. Maybe that's it. Just rip it. I ripped the second one off. That's it. Don't be gentle with it. It's like a non-Newtonian fluid. You just gotta get in there. Right. Just trying to figure out how centre I want to be with this, because we've got our two headphone sockets and they're not centre. Oh, it's touched. But I think I'm very happy with that position right there. So you just squeeze it and it will get in there. Don't worry. I know it doesn't look like it's going to stick, but get that pressure in there. The foam will adapt, and then you're going to be very pleased with the final outcome. It's already starting to stick. What I might do for fun though, I've got that hole, might put a blob of hot glue in there just to sort of grab it. for fun from the middle. Yeah, and that's probably about as good as you're going to get for a very curved. It's curved in that way and it's curved in that way, so that'll probably do. Right, next thing of course are the cables, because it does have cables that come out, and we're limited somewhat because they have rather big, whatever you call these things, strain relief on them. So you're only ever going to get them turned as much as they're going to want to turn. And I'm thinking, looking at the back here, probably just there. I'm going to make a little mark, just centre. I'm pretty confident I can route them into that centre point. So just pop that off and get your wanger. You only have to wang it as much as you need to get that through, so I'm going to try probably for one more. Took a bit of care. Do you see that? I actually took some care. And then I'm going to push them through from the back. Get that one through. Oh, it's going to be tight. Yes, nurse. Got it. Maybe if I'd done it the other way around it would have been a bit easier. And you've got HDMI too. If you ever get some HDMI tellies in your car, you can do it HDMI style-y. Look at that. I mean, that's okay, isn't it? Not bad. Not bad at all. Right, back to the final fit and finish. We have, and it is a bit cumbersome because of all of this cable. I'm not really that bothered. I don't really want to cut it. So the first thing we do is probably just glue down, if our glue gun's hot enough, glue down some of these modules so they're not floating around annoyingly. So if that's got some, yep, that's the benefit of the old gas glue gun, is that it does heat quite quickly and very hotly. If you like a watery glue, you know, a very liquid glue, go for the old gas glue gun, because it gets it up to a much higher temperature than you'd normally experience with the regular glue gun. Now this one is a tricky beast, because you want one end to connect to the power system in the car, and you've got the other end that has to hook onto this USB. So let's have a look at the USB first, because we want to see how long it is. It might be quite a long thing once they're all hooked up. They are indeed quite long. So what we'll want to do is just get these wires out of the way and just maybe stick it down right there. That should be fine. Get another glue gun glue in there. While I'm at it, I'm going to splop some in here like I said I'd do. Injecting it, yeah, just to act as a belt and braces type of plug on that. And then of course get a good bit of splooge on here, because you never know which part of it's going to contact properly, so go for as much as you can. And I'm putting it quite high up because I want to be able to sort of trap all the cables that are going to be going in it somewhere. Let's get that out. But that's quite nice. That works for me. Yeah, I think that's okay. We've got our little audio dingle dangles ready to go. Maybe while I'm at it, no, yeah, I almost put a bit of hot snot on these wires, but no, you're actually better off generally with wires to just tape them if you can. Insulating tape's not great because it's not very sticky, but it's sticky enough. See, it's gonna do fine. And now then we just have our other end of our AV leads. So we want the audio part, these two, to kind of be more, I'm stripping it basically, I'm stripping the wire down because I want to just kind of make a loop here. Don't need them that long. That's a thick old loop, but that'll do. Bit of tape. Again, if you don't want to do it kind of cackly like me, cut the wires, fit new ends, and do it all properly. In fact, if you think about it, I could just solder this straight into the baby boomer and get rid of all those bloody connectors. But you know, future proofing and all that. Replace these though. Those are going to be my first thing to replace when I just get hold of something a bit better. think temporarily though I'll fit them like so, and we glue down this bundle. So we're going to apply hot glue to that insulation on the wire basically, and that's going to hold it in. So it's kind of a temporary slash permanent fixture there. It's all going in though. Look, it's quite a nice little system build here. And then the only other thing to wrap up is the USB wire, and there you go, self-contained. Bloop, 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 bloop. Job's a good one. Job is a good one. Let's take that USB out. The only thing I wish I did is put longer wires on that. But, you know, you live and you learn. That was the length of wire that was given to me by the constraint of using my old power supply as a source for wire. So I rolled with that. You know, it's not going to be a problem. There's plenty of wire at the other end. It's just once you pull the connector out, you want somewhere to route that connector back, and that could be the problem. Okay, and we're going to plug this one back in for the final time, and I might plug it in the air, look, on top of those audio wires, so that they're nicely sandwiched down there. They're keeping them a bit sandwiched in. Just get this underneath there so it's all held tight. One more bit of glue, I think. Ooh, don't you go there, that's not where I want you. And we'll just push this in down here. Now that is a tight radius here. Don't want that. There we go. Yeah, I think if it stays there, it only has to stay long enough for me to fit the panel, I'm going to be quite happy. And there's my other end ready to go. So just got to hook power at that, get the video feed into the monitors, and I think we're kind of done. That's about as good as you're going to get. The nice thing is, of course, this module will just power itself on automatically and just resume playback. You can set it in its software basically just to resume playback. It's going to put a little bit more hot glue now on some of these, now that I can, you know, let some pour in from the top. Hot glue-tastic. You can see how liquid it is on these. As I said, I wasn't joking about the gas guns being able to get redonkulously hot. I think that's it really. Maybe just one more bit on there. We don't want our baby boomer falling out if we don't go, you know, off-roading or something, or have a bit of a emergency stop situation. And that's it. That's our panel done. Phew! So there, from a video about a headphone jack to actually making a whole AV panel, I think we did pretty well today. And that is that. So that's the back side of there, and I'm going to turn it over, but only briefly, because that hot glue is going to melt out and go somewhere bad if I don't keep it that way. But look, there's your panel, and then from inside the car all you're going to see is, well, nothing virtually, it's by your feet, but you'll just see that edge there, which is good enough to use your remote control on. And ooh, see, everything kind of went up. Get back down, you. So I hope that's been of some use to you and you've enjoyed this build. Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe if you're that way inclined, and as ever everybody, thank you for watching.